Hey everyone, Richard Robbins here. I have a update on the Calgary real estate market for January of 2024. But there's a few things I want to discuss. Number one, I'm going to talk about migration because a lot of things happening in Alberta right now, a lot of people moving there. I want to give you some numbers because these are numbers that you can be using when you're talking with buyers or sellers. There's going to be a lot of great content here that you can use in your presentations. Number two, I'm going to give you a market update. I'm going to talk about the last number of years. I'm going to go January to January, many years back, give you some months of inventory numbers, tell you what's going to happen going forward, or at least in my opinion, going forward. And the last thing I'm going to do, I got a very special announcement at the end of this video. So hang in there, everybody. Okay, market update. Let's talk about migration. In the first 3 quarters of 2023, Alberta had almost a net 100,000 people, added to that province. The number was actually 99,833. Amazing, absolutely amazing. That's net. That's people leaving, people coming in, and we end up an extra 100,000. But here's what's really interesting. In terms of interprovincial, we had 45,194. So in other words, what happened? There was over 45,000 people that actually moved in to Calgary from other provinces. Now, obviously, the first one would be Toronto. Most people came from Toronto, obviously largest population base. Second most came from Vancouver. But if you look at this visual, you can see that generally they actually came from everywhere. Well, why is this happening? Well, Vancouver, Toronto is an easy one, right? Because they're probably saying, oh, my house is worth X and I can move to Alberta and, I can buy something for less money, put some money in my pocket. But I think also what's happening right now is I think a lot of people are starting to realize that the lifestyle, in Alberta is very, very good. Very outdoorsy. You've got mountains, right? So I think there's a lot of advantages right now. And a lot of people are just looking at lifestyle. So I think when you bring all this together, the economy is really good in Alberta right now. There's a lot of great things happening for Alberta. And by the way, congratulations. You deserve it because you have had your struggles. Okay, now let's look at the market. In January, if we're looking at Calgary, now I'm talking about Calgary. In January, you had 1,650 homes that sold. Now compare that to January of last year, and you had 1,200 in January of last year. Now that's a pretty substantial increase. Now we go back to 2021, 2022, you had over 2,000 in both of those months. However, we need to realize that 21 and 22 were not normal years. Like the market was out of control. If we look at 2021 in Canada, we did 667,000 sales, the biggest year ever in history, and the second biggest year ever in history was in 2022. Those days are over, folks. But if you look at your numbers compared to the rest of Canada, Calgary did very, very well because most of Canada went down to below 10-year average, and Calgary is still well above a 10-year average, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now let's look at prices. So if we look at prices here, you can see that, January of last year, you're at 520,000. January of this year, you're at 572,000. That's up by 10%. But if you go to the other side of that chart, look at the sales. So you did 1,200 last January, 1,650. That's up by 37%. Massive number. But here's the big one, months of inventory. So you can see it says MOI there. So that stands for months of inventory. Now, you've heard me say this before, you can follow my stuff, but if you've got sort of 0 to 3 to 4 months of inventory, seller's territory, 4 to 6, balanced market, above 6 moves into buyer's territory. And the lower the inventory, the faster the market's going to appreciate in price, right? Because there's less to choose from. So if we go back to January of last year, you had 2 months of inventory. January of this year, you had just below 1.3. 2 to 1.3. That's a big difference, everybody. So what does this all mean? This means that as we move into the rest of this year, if your inventory remains, at 1 to 1.5, 1.8, we went up by 10% last year. Your prices are going to go up by more than 10% this year because we were operating with 2 to 2.5 months of inventory last year with a 10% increase. Well, if we're operating with 1 to 1.5, depending what happens in the future, our prices are going to go up, or your price is going to go up way more than 10%. Very strong market. Now, let's look at what happened over the last number of years. These numbers are incredible. If we go back to 2018, 2019, 2020, Calgary seemed to always bounce around that 16,000 number. You know what I mean? 16,500 sales for the whole year. Well, we know what happened in 21 and 22. Anomaly, crazy year. Then look what happened last year. We were still at 27,416 sales. That's 11,000 more than 18, 19, and 20, where that 16,000 was a number for a long time. And they're forecasting that you're going to do about 28,000 this coming year. Let me tell you, those numbers are big. Now, does it create problems in the market and does it create opportunities? Yes. So my forecast, I believe that you're going to continue to see sales very, very strong for the rest of this year. I also believe your inventory, because things are going to sell so fast, is going to remain very low, which is going to cause your prices to go up. And I would suggest you're going to go up by more than 10%, 15, 18, somewhere in. It's just a forecast. Who knows for sure? But I think you're going to experience a very, very strong market for the rest of this year. Now, where's the opportunities in that? The opportunities, if you own a house, great price appreciation, right? Opportunities if you're in the sales business, the sales pie got smaller. If you do 28,000 sales this year, opposed to say 16 or 18,000, there's a lot more opportunities for you there. Obviously, if you're a sales professional, we know that the higher prices go. If you're negotiating the same commission, you're making more money per transaction, which is all good as well. But there's a negative side to this. And here's what the negative side is. Number one, harder to get in the market for many first-time buyers, right? Number two, what's going to happen with buyers? Buyers are going to have trouble getting a property, even if they're all ready to go, because you're going to see multiple offers. And whatever number of multiple offers you were seeing last year, if the market stays stronger at 1.2 months of inventory, you're going to see more multiple offers on each listing, which means it's harder for the buyer to get the property. And as you know, sometimes it's hard for that buyer to make the right decision to put in the right offer that will get them that property. So you're going to help them with that. The other thing, it's going to be hard to get your hands on listings because let's face it, if you've only got 1.2 months of inventory, what do the sellers start to think, right? Anybody can sell my house, right? And all of a sudden, maybe they're not doing as much research on picking the right agent as they should. When the market is more difficult, they go, boy, hard to sell. I better find the right agent. What about rentals? Going to be hard, isn't it? We already got a shortage of rentals. Rentals, we know the prices are going up, and that's probably going to continue for the rest of this year. So when you look at it, there's always opportunities in every market, and there's always challenges in every market. That's just the way it is. You've got to build your skills around the challenges so you can take advantage of whatever market you need to be sitting in. Now, announcement. We are very excited because October, or I should say April, not October, way before October, April 10th and 11th, we are going to be there in Calgary, and we've got a program called Masters Academy Intensive. So what this is, it's actually a one-day program, but the 10th, the day before it starts, we have an evening networking reception. So we get a reception the night before, and the reason we call it intensive is this. What we do is we take 2 days worth of content and we fit it in to one day to give you all of the valuable content to deal in the market that you're presently dealing in. This will be Calgary-related content, okay? Work in any market, of course, but we will be addressing what's going on there. So we condense it down. But here's what's really cool. It's all VIP seating. Yes, we're going to have beautiful round tables, make you comfortable. No classroom where you're all jammed in. You know what I mean? Lots of room to write, lots of room to network and talk to people at your table. So not only will you learn from the stage, you're going to learn from the people at your table. Now, negative side to having round tables, we can't get as many people in the room. So it maxes out one of our smaller events at 250 people. And as of when I recorded this video, we're 65% full. How are we 65% full already? Coaching members and guests of coaching members that they have invited to the event, which means what we're doing right now is something called an interest form. So you'll see attached to this particular video, there's an interest form. And if you fill out that interest form, that tells us that you're interested in coming to the event. And guess what happens? the next release, because our events have sold out, okay, for the last number of years, every one we put on, that if you fill out the interest form, you will be the first to be made aware when the tickets go up for sale to the public. So all you have to do is fill out the interest form. We'll let you know when the tickets go up for sale, and that will give you an opportunity to grab yourself a ticket. So at the end of the day, I hope this was helpful, everybody. And remember, it's a beautiful life. Make it count.